So one thing becoming a mom especially was this really hard reminder that everything can be so consuming. You can be doing everything for your husband and everything for your children and everything for your friends. And this was a habit of mine. It wasn't until Lily that I really understood what I had been doing, because I had no time left. Peeling back all of these layers of why I'm doing what I'm doing. Am I doing this because I want to, or am I doing this because I have to? And then also going behind that layer of being like, and even if I want to, do I have the time, energy, and space for it? So the reason why you have to do it for you first is because if you do it for anyone else, you're just adding to a cup that's already full. And I don't mean like your love cup that's already full. Your cup that you have consumed everyone else's energy and everyone else's time and feelings and emotions and opinions and facts into this cup. And you're like, where's me? Where's me?
Help Me See is a podcast that redefines the word vision through vulnerable and real conversations, my own private introspective ramblings about the things that I think about in the wee hours of the morning, and my deep core belief that your nothingness is your everything, and all you have to do is see. I'm Bianca Mora. I'm your host. I am an educator, a photographic artist, and I believe that your daily photo habit can be the key to unlocking the ability to be more present in your everyday life and live deeper into your intention and purpose. We're not about the small talk here. Grab your coffee, get cozy, and let's talk. Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day you're popping in and listening. I am grateful you're here. I am back home. I was just in Atlanta for a work trip the other week, and much like the idea that whenever you think about a red car, you see a million red cars, since I've been working on this course on how to stay calm and confident and connected to your vision and your voice when you're working on your craft, regardless of what's happening around you, I have been thrown into a blender of so many shit shows, so many different experiences in which I've really been putting into action all of these different scenarios that I really have been doing my whole life, and more specifically in every session that I've photographed in the last, I don't even know at this point, at least 10 years. But this particular session that I did the other week is just one example of what I've encountered. It was a very impromptu me taking out my camera. My best friend, love her to death, but I always tell her 1% jokingly, 99% not joking. She is like a nightmare client for me. She does not. It's just not aligned. It's just, the things that she wants and looks for is just at odds with what I tend to see and photograph. And what's so funny is that even during me photographing, she rolls her eyes and tells me she looks terrible and not wearing the right outfit and blah, blah, blah. And why are you even taking a picture of this? And then she'll look at the camera or the photos and be like, oh my God, I had no idea that I... So I just wanted to give a little bit of air to this idea that sometimes it can feel really deflating when we are taking photographs for someone that we know doesn't get it the way that we get it, doesn't see it the way that we see it, doesn't have this common ground innately. But that doesn't mean that precious memories cannot be captured. That doesn't mean that there's no space for something beautiful. It just makes it an interesting tango mentally to work through. And in this situation, of course, there weren't stakes in regards to being worried about someone I don't know getting upset, and, she wasn't paying me for these, obviously. But it was a situation where typically I wouldn't pull out my camera and I would just be there without pulling out my camera. But this afternoon or early evening, I just couldn't not. I was seeing everything in such a gorgeous way, and I didn't care that she felt unprepared, quote unquote, for these images/memories to be made. And I absolutely loved the pictures. I haven't even edited them yet, which I can't wait. But there was something in me that felt so fired up about the fact that I was able to create something that I love and that I know she will treasure so much from a space that wasn't inherently an energizing and inspiring space for me. And I think that that is something that you resonate with on some level and have had experience with at some point before. It's a very palpable feeling to have the wind taken out of your sails, or to not feel lit up because you're just around someone that you don't connect with on that plane. There's different people that you have different commonalities with and share different passions around. And sometimes when you're the only one seeing something, it can feel a little bit isolating and a little bit like, what's the point? But I love that I stood firm in knowing the point and made the effort and made the pictures. And now maybe because of it, both of us have a broader understanding of the importance of what went on that day. I will be posting some of those to Instagram or my website soon. They're not even up yet. I am still editing a shoot from California that I absolutely love. So it'll be a minute before those come up. And you know what? That's okay, because I really made it a point to give myself time and space to edit the photographs that I take in such an intentional way. And it feels really good to know that I don't have to rush through the photographs that I treasure so much after working so hard, or not so hard, quote unquote. I mean, it's not hard, especially when you're in your flow state, but like after being so intentional in a shoot, to not just get it over with and to make yourself deliver early for the sake of being done early when these photographs are forever, right? Like it is important for me to touch every single photo. I mean, I spend time on every single photo and I deliver a lot of photographs. It's just my style. It is just what's important to me. So I hold it sacred. And I really am clear about communicating how it takes up to 4 weeks or so to get the photos back, because it's not my goal to be the fastest the fastest artist for you. It's my goal to create the most important and the most beautiful images that I can from our time together. So I just wanted to give light to that and really encourage you to stand up for your own process where it feels right. And if there's a part of you that is feeling constricted or feeling rushed or feeling whatever type of way about whatever point in your process, it is totally up to you to give yourself that space. And nothing but good can come out of you doing what's right for you and your work and for your clients. So, anywho, okay, today on the show, we have Amber Dolan-Bath. She is back. We have had her on the show before. She is a self-discovery coach. She's an inner voice facilitator, and she is super passionate about guiding you inwards as you explore and navigate life's transitions. Amber has a new program out called The Temple. I loved having her on the show talking about the program because it truly is something that she dreamed up from top to bottom. And I have an extreme passion for people that look at their options and decide, I don't want any of them, and forge their own path. And that's something that Amber has done. So Amber really, really drives home the point of listening to you and making decisions in your life with your inner voice as the compass. Any links on Amber will be in the show notes. I also will have a sign-up list if you are interested in my upcoming course. If you are a photographic artist, photographer, a creative, interested in strengthening your vision and connecting to your voice, then sign up so that you will be on the wait list. Okay, enough of the chit chat. Without further ado, here is my chat with Amber. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Help Me See. Today we have a special repeat guest. I don't have a lot of repeat guests, so it is special. We have Amber Dolan-Bath here, and I'm so excited to have this chat. Amber, how are you? Thank you for being here.
I am blessed to be here. I love your presence and just excited.
I'm so excited to get into it. The number one reason why I really want to have a conversation with you today of all days is because something that's hot off the press is your new program, The Temple. And I wanted to talk about that and really get into the why and what is behind it and how it came to be. Because I think that what's so special about what you're doing is the fact that there really isn't a model that came before it. And I love the idea of when we come into these moments where we realize there's A, B, C, and D, and E, and F, and I don't like any of the options. And I think it's really easy to not realize that we force ourselves to pick an option that doesn't sit well with us instead of creating our own. There's so many times where even though I'm like super aware and try to be super intentional that I'm doing things and all of a sudden I'm like, why the fuck am I doing it like this? I don't even want to do it like this. I can make up my own way, but it's really hard to see that sometimes. So first, just like, what is this program? And then we'll go from there. And where did it come from?
Okay. First off, I want everyone to know that I learned a fun fact about podcasting today, and I'll get into everything in just a second. But as you were talking, I was like, Bianca, we're like 30%, like we are above 70% of people who start podcasts. So if you make it past episode 8 of a podcast, you automatically have bypassed podcast fade and are above 70% of people who started podcasts. And I know that you are way past episode 8. So
I passed the fade. The fade. That's exciting.
Yes. I just want to celebrate that because what you're doing here is absolutely incredible. Okay. Yeah. So the temple. I need to start with my why because it's the heart of who I am. I had a spiritual awakening back in 2015. My now husband, but then boyfriend, had broken up with me. And I was just ready to stop living by other people's rules and start living intentionally. And my perfectionist attitude just kept going on repeat. And my hiding from other people because I was different than them was still playing on repeat. And so I had done a lot of programs and a lot of work to finally get to this understanding of, oh, spirit loves me. My spirit, my soul, my intuition loves me. And that's the same for everyone else too. Bianca's soul chose her. Like it just, we are innately loved. And I love this. My inner voice, my soul, gave me this beautiful synonym of love is the same as spirit, is the same as you. They're all synonyms of one another. And so for me, as I went about my journey and had many ups and downs in life, postpartum being one of them, raising a child is not easy every single day, right? And I have to show up now for her as much as I'm showing up for me. And I don't want her to live in a closet where she has to hide herself and not be who she is, which means I have to do that first. Mm-hmm. And so I created the Spirit of You Temple, which is my brand, my platform, because we have to go within, we have to do the quote unquote work, but not for anyone else. So we can tap into the self-love that we already have within us and live out our life and be seen and heard and witnessed and honored and acknowledged by ourselves first and then by others. And so that's why I created my brand. Mm-hmm. And then the temple is just this really easy way to join. And Bianca, you don't know this yet, but Nostalgia Now, yes. Nostalgia Now, which is Bianca's program, was me and you had talked about photography and how to bring photos into the mix with you. But the one thing I love about Nostalgia Now is the closing of one chapter and the opening of another. Mm. And so the first of every month, we're now meeting in the temple to close out the previous chapter and whatever the soul has guided us to, the emotions that have come through, the wisdom that's come through, and then moving into a new month with a new chapter. And it was Nostalgia Now. As soon as I tapped into the why I love Nostalgia Now so much, I was like, I love the fact that we can close out each month and be conscious creators with our phones. But now I'm saying let's bring it to our souls.
Yeah. And that cadence too, the month, it's so empowering because I think that's part of the reason why we love when seasons change. It's it feels like an opportunity for something new. It's it's going to feel different, in these months. So what do we want in this season? But really, we really have that every moment of the day, but it doesn't feel like that. Right. So having a container of sorts that doesn't have the power to make weather feel different, but to come together and have this opening and closing of something that is smaller. It's amazing because it gives us so many more opportunities in a year to really look at our life with a different lens, with that hindsight 2020.
Amen.
Why this container? Why you made a point to say for you first and then to be witnessed by a community. Can you talk a little bit about the order of that and how you've even mentioned before when you were talking about how obviously your daughter is like part of the reason of why you want to make sure that she's able to be fully, embodied and expressed. But how did that follow your core desire of this, and also the program itself, the you and then the community?
So one thing becoming a mom especially was this really hard reminder that everything can be so consuming. You can be doing everything for your husband and everything for your children and everything for your friends. And this was a habit of mine. It wasn't until Lily that I really understood what I had been doing, because I had no time left. And so peeling back all of these layers of why I'm doing what I'm doing. Am I doing this because I want to, or am I doing this because I have to? And then also going behind that layer of being like, and even if I want to, do I have the time, energy, and space for it? So the reason why you have to do it for you first is because if you do it for anyone else, you're just adding to a cup that's already full. And I don't mean like your love cup that's already full, your cup that you have consumed everyone else's energy and everyone else's time and feelings and emotions and opinions and facts into this cup. And you're like, where's me? Where's me? So when you join any program, you really have to tune into, is this my time? Am I really truly doing it for me? Or am I doing it to get someone to like me or get someone to love me or to better myself, to continue this process of improving myself for the sake of love at the end of it? And if that's the case, you're going to be on a hamster wheel. And so doing it for you really means like tapping into your body and being like, is this the time? Is this the season? Do I have the energy to put towards me? Do I want to put the energy towards me? And once you start making it a choice of being like, oh, I haven't carved out time for myself this year, or I haven't carved out time for myself the entire summer. We're moving into a new season, fall here in North America. Like, you're able to be like, okay, cool. I want to put time towards me because I want to fill my cup. I want to feel better internally, not for any external thing. And then the community piece, like once you get people to hear you and see you who are basically strangers. I mean, you're not hopping unless you are bringing your best friend into the program, which awesome. But like, unless you're doing that, you're with a group of strangers. So those secrets that you've been hiding, those little things that you haven't given the time or space for because you're scared of someone else's opinion, we, in the temple, only want what's best for other people in the temple. Like, that is rule number one. You want what's best for yourself, and you want what's best for the people in the temple. So your family's opinions are not going to spew through us. Your friends' opinions aren't going to spew through us. We just get to witness you and then cheer you on.
So something that comes to mind often when I think about tuning in, and it's so funny because just recently I've really uncovered this this divide between my ability to do this with a camera on my face and then without it, which is interesting when I'm making my art and when I'm not actively in my craft, is this ability to decipher your intuition. Because you keep referring to like, go in and listen to what you want. But like, so many of us are at a point where it's so fucking foggy. It's like, what do I want? And I do believe that we all know, but I think it's really wildly frustrating to hear that. It's like, no, I don't fucking know. I don't know, because there's so much, even when you say, it has to be for you before anyone else. It's like, it's so easy to justify joining a program or buying something when the end goal is like, for my kids, for my partner, for the sake of our marriage, for my dog. But it's like a program like yours.
Dog. I love that.
Program like yours, where it's literally, it's like, no, it's like very confronting. It's like temple of you. What do you say to someone that's like has one has some trouble being able to justify, I'm using the quote thing, justify committing to something that's just for them. And then also this idea of like how it can be really hard to feel confident in hearing your voice.
So I want to address the fact that one of my favorite clients came to me end of last year, and she's like, Amber, I don't know what I want. Like when we did the visualization of like a year from now, she could not do that. So I then did it for 3 months from now, and she couldn't do that either. Like she could not see in front of her. And the work I do with clients allows for the fog to go away. We do a lot of emotional releasing. And so sometimes just tuning in to your body of like, where's the frustration? Where's the anger? Where's the sadness? Where's the fear? Let's tend to those parts of you so then you can see in front of you is really important. And you don't even need to just join the temple for that. Like just DM me and we can hop on a soul activation call. Like I'm here for it. They're free. Like let's do it. But I needed to say that because, and now she's in the temple and she has a vision for her future, and it's taken her months to get there, but she, at the end of the day, she did it for herself, and she did it, and she's proud of herself, and she's smiling. Like she was not smiling 9 months ago. And that's not just because of my work. That's because she chose herself over and over and over and over and over again in her life. Okay, I forgot your question, but I definitely knew that needed to come through. Sorry.
I forgot it too. Hold on. Because and then that makes me think of another question is, well, not even a question, just a point of like, I think that with all of the information overload that happens and like all of the resources we have available to us, personally, I'll just say that to me, it's always a green flag when whatever resource, whatever coach, whatever person is redirecting you back to yourself, instead of like a step by step, because I think that it's the harder thing to offer. It's the harder thing to say, and standing in that, like, no, I can't really give you a recipe, because really, if I did, whether it works or not is kind of irrelevant. It's what's resonating with you. So redirecting someone back to themselves is like really hard work, but also the most important and the truest work, I believe. I had asked about the justification of like being able to at first buy something that's like for me, or commit to something that's just for me and not for my kids or for something else or with something else in mind. But also the idea that it can be confusing when you say, where is the frustration in your body? Where is the blah, blah, blah? Like, how can someone that isn't familiar with this work do that? Maybe the best way to explain it is to talk about your soul activation calls, or your background and, what you've studied.
So I am a inner voice facilitator trained through the Lively community, just Lively. She has a podcast, a whole foundation. Like she's done incredible things, but basically she was fascinated by Abraham Hicks, that Esther Hicks could channel this entity, Abraham. And she was like, I didn't believe it the first like 100 times I heard it. Like she was faking it. But then she was like, well, let me tune into my body and like see if I can channel things. She basically found that everyone can channel their own soul. They just have to get quiet enough to do it. And so I ate that all up, because basically I had been living a life of everyone told me all of the rules in which I needed to follow. And that was not working for me. It was not working for me. It was not working for me. So I was tuning into my soul, and everything that my family, husband, like friends were like, you can't do, shouldn't do, like play safe. I stayed home with Lily. I quit my job, decided I was going full time into my gig, started a podcast, did a trip to California, like all of these things just unfolding because I was listening to my intuition. And you can only receive the information from your intuition again, when you've gotten clear to do so. And the clearing of that is the emotional centers of your body. And emotions can exist anywhere. But basically, if you closed your eyes right now, which I know can be scary for so many human beings. I was so scared of meditation. I was so scared of what was going to come forth when I closed my eyes and felt into my body. But if it's appearing to you, especially when you've decided to get center and you've say to yourself, so if you could close your eyes, inhale into your body, place your awareness where you've heard your gut feeling before, that intuitive knowing that something good, bad, if you needed to do something. And then once you feel into that place, ask your inner voice, are you there? And as soon as you get your yes, that's where you can ask any question or feel into your emotional body, being like, where am I feeling sad? Where am I feeling that anger? Where am I feeling that joy? Why the hell do I listen to Amber and Bianca right now? And like, why, like, what's that feeling that brings up to you while you're listening to us? Like, what does Bianca bring to the table that you love so much? Feel into that feeling. And you take the shape and you feel into the emotional bubble, if you will. And it can be like a block. It can be an empty hole. Like, this is not a one size fits all approach, but it's just like, where are you feeling it? What's inside of it? What's the shape of it? And you keep breathing until you've processed it. And that can be through tears. It can be through shaking, it can be through sound. It can just be through breath. Exhaling's key in this. And just like why it's so important is to get to that intuitive place, because we're not just the mind, and we identify so much with the mind, which is this like lovely, amazing thing, but it's also running off of fear right now and not of love. So once you're able to bring love back into the equation, which at the beginning of this show I said is the synonym to spirit, the synonym to you, then you're able to like, oh, this is what I want to do. And it can be as simple as Bianca's drinking coffee right now. I mean, I'm 99% sure. Like, she could be like, oh, I want to drink my coffee with sugar today. I mean, she doesn't, but she could because their soul told her to. Like, you start with the little things. You start with the basic decisions throughout your day. So then you can do it with the big, scary issues that you're too scared to get quiet with yourself for.
First of all, how do you know I don't use sugar? Because I don't.
Because you announced it in our Nostalgia Now one.
Of course I shared about my coffee habit. Okay, beautiful. And so and now connecting the dots, when you go and you said, okay, until when you hear yes, then you're ready, blah, 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 blah. If you don't hear yes, then in theory or in practice, there's stuff to clear. There's emotions to clear. So what it sounds is what you're saying. So what it sounds like to me is that
you can always get it. So that's the thing. So even if you don't have, the only reason why your intuition is not going to come through is because your mind is blocking your intuition because it's scared of what it's going to say. So the basic question of, are you here?
Yeah.
Allows your intuition to say, I'm here. And then from that place, you can do the emotional work or you can ask more questions. But that's the most basic question, because your soul is going to be able to cut through your mind with that one, most generally. If you don't receive an answer, I don't want you to do the emotional work, because it means you're doing it from the mind and trying to like, oh, I need to force this versus like allowing it to move through. So I do not want anyone to do the emotional work. And thank you for bringing that up until they've heard their inner voice, their soul, their spirit that says, I'm here. Because once it says I'm here, then you're able to process.
You know, I find that in so many ways, this kind of nugget is so important to distinguish. And I feel like it took me a bit to really know this, and instead of cognitively know it, just like feel like this is true, because sometimes it can feel so not true, in that whatever it is that we're meant to do, want to do, purpose, why, whatever it is, it really is the peeling off all of the shit that's on us, rather than searching and wading through honey and a forest and whatever, and looking through the depths of the internet and, you know, to find ourselves. It really is, it's just at our core, and it's just all of the shit that's on top of us that has been placed on from even good things, like good things and bad things. That's why it's so confusing, is that like some of the things that are in the way of us seeing ourselves are, loved ones and things that feel good, but they're not great, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Yeah. And another question that you had asked is like, how do you invest in just yourself without the end goal of something else happening?
Yes.
And I want to address that. I mean, there's been plenty of times that I've signed up for something that the end goal was to make more money. That was like my biggest thing. Even when I worked with life coaches and not a business coach, it was always to better myself, to make more money.
Mm-hmm.
So it was always about the money. And then I signed up for, which is funny enough, Nostalgia Now. And that was the first one where there's no way I can be like, I'm signing up for Nostalgia Now for the money. Like, you take photos, right? So like, you don't do that. You don't do that. And so it had to be for me. And even with that one, I was like, oh, I'll do it for my daughter. Like, I'll take the photos of my daughter and put it into this beautiful collage that you create. Mm-hmm. But I was like, 2 months, I think I was month 1, maybe month 2. And I was like, none of these photos of my daughter. I think it took the second month. I was like, none of these photos are of my daughter. It's all of me. So even then I signed up for someone else and it came back around. So maybe you have like this external reason, but just know that it ends up being about you at the end of the day, no matter what you sign up for.
Mm-hmm. And that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I think that I grimace every time, I hear the word selfish or even no, I grimace more when I hear selfless.
Yes, I agree. 1,000%.
No, selfless. Because it's like, it's not this altruistic, like it's just, if you look a little bit beyond that, you'll always uncover something that doesn't feel good. Like when the times where I, am running myself ragged for my kids is not when I feel the most loving. It's just not, and it's just like this surface badge of I did it for them. But really at the end of the day, what are you getting? A pat on the back from someone that doesn't really care about you, like the only person that would commend something that is being selfless is someone that isn't as concerned with your well-being, right?
Right.
Anyway, I just feel these conversations are so important because I don't know. I think that as you're saying, all these programs, I've signed up for so many programs and courses, and I think that is one of my number one, I don't want to call it advice, but like, it's just a tendency I have that I want to move away from is like, everything I do, I thrive when I'm like, oh, I see how this ties into the puzzle of X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Like, I love learning. I love education. And I can feel a little bit more lost when it comes to doing something for the joy of it. Like I've been putting off signing up for dance class, and I've been wanting to dance.
Bianca, me too.
What?
Me too. And in fact, at the end of this month, there's one location here that for young adults can do modern classes. And
Amber, I've been looking for modern classes specifically.
Oh my God. Yes. Really? Yes. And I've been waiting because most of those dance studios around here is like young kids. Yes, and I was like, I need a class for me. So I thought about doing one-on-ones. There's a place like 20 minutes that I can go and start doing modern classes. And I'm like, I'm signing up. Like I have to make this the priority because it's about my joy at the end of the day. So I hope that you find this modern class of yours.
Wait, when are you doing it?
I'm doing it like literally, I think it starts in 2 weeks.
Okay. Yeah, I've been having trouble. So growing up, I danced hip hop for years and I love it, but I really wanted something different, but I love dance. And, actually what sparked it in me is, oh my gosh, someone just signed up for Nostalgia Now.
Oh my gosh. It's because we're talking about it. It's because at this very moment in time, even though no one has heard this episode yet, the energy I just put out about Nostalgia Now like 4 times, just like, hello, I'm signing up. I'm just kidding. I'm not taking any credit for this, guys.
Take whatever credit you want. You probably talk about it more than I do, honestly.
I mean, I talk about it a lot.
Well, just know that your identity will not be revealed, but you are so
I'm celebrating this person.
Sorry, I just like looked at my phone because I have to pick up my son pretty soon, and I was like,
yeah, sorry guys, I arrived late to this call.
What was I going to say? Okay, so with the dance, I don't know if you've seen it, but this is a tangent. I might cut this out. Probably, actually, no, I won't cut this out.
Keep it. I love talking about dance.
Do you like Hosier, or do you know him?
Yeah.
The singer.
Yeah.
So his song, Work Song, I believe it's Work Song. I think it is. That's my favorite song ever. But this music video of his, they're doing modern dance, and it's just.
I have to look this up because modern's my favorite.
Oh my God. And I've never done it before. And I have just always felt this pull. And, the brain says, but why? Like, you're 30 something years old. Like, you're not going to be in no competitions or become a dancer. Why are you doing that? I want to do it. Yeah. I just want to. I just really want to. And part of me is like, I'm going to feel so silly. I'm out of shape. I'm this, I'm that. Like, what if I don't remember? My biggest thing, here we go. My biggest thing is, what if I don't pick up the moves as quickly? Like, because I don't remember choreography as quickly. And it's the same thing that came up for me. I actually brought it up in, or in a way, in our call earlier, Amber, of the mastermind. When I went to do a contract job at a studio, I felt in me this feeling of severe unrest until I knew I could exceed expectations. And I was like, whoa, what is that? Why is that? Like, and why is it that we're so sophisticated that in some areas of life, we can so boldly do the opposite, but in others, it's like we're a different entity. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm choosing this completely me, carving out my path. No one even knows what I'm doing type of thing. And I'm okay with that. Because maybe it's because there are no expectations because no one knows what the hell I'm doing. But then in this other regard, I'm like, I'm only okay if I feel like I'm doing better than expected, So
anyway. What's funny is I wasn't once concerned that I'm out of shape for this modern class. Not once. And now that you said it, my mind was like,
oh no.
Oh, Amber, you are out of shape. And I'm like, you know what? This is a great part where I can be like, hi, inner voice. Are you here? Yes. Is it safe for me to feel my feelings? Yes. Let me tap into the feelings of not, huffing and puffing, like the embarrassment. That's the emotion. The embarrassment I'm already projecting into the future.
Steve, what's so funny about that is that, look at us ping ponging. What's so funny about that to me is that when I say out of shape, I'm not like, I get out of shape going up my stairs in my house. Like, I'm not even concerned about that. I'm concerned about out of like the shape of like being able to perform as if this is like a performance type of thing, which it's not. It's for the joy of it. But again, when I danced, I was going to competitions. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh, I must do it. So it's just, I love unearthing how different all of our, like, one sentence could trigger us both in different ways. Like, I didn't think about it like that at all. You thought it like that. There's something else that happened. I was with my partner and I was like, oh my God, we have so many different. Oh, no. I was having a conversation with some of my dearest friends and their coaches. And I would say that I'm more, in the last year or two, just becoming more and more ingrained in this life coach arena. But it's so funny because I listen to them talk about how many and how saturated, and I don't have that perception at all. It's like at all. But it's funny because I have that feeling about, even though I ignore it and it really doesn't give me any baggage, but photographers always say the market is so saturated. It's like, yeah, to you, but not really to people that are not photographers, It's so interesting.
When do you have to go? Just so.
In 5 minutes.
Okay. So this will be quick, and this is totally putting you on the spot, but like, do not answer, and to like, or don't even respond. Like, don't even think about this until after. But today, Amber was talking about Amber Leestrom, our coach, this one of our business coaches, talked about how she pays for hotel rooms for her guests to come.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're like, she's talking, so we could then share our money fears, so then she could help in like the ping pong, right? So she says that, and instantly, ready for this, guys? This is how amazing Bianca is at her photography. I was like, I am bringing Bianca to my event in 2023. I'm paying for her damn hotel room. Like, I am going to get rich so I can bring Bianca to New Hampshire, pay for her hotel room so she can be the photographer of my event. And like, that's how amazing we are. So I don't care how saturated the market is. Once you get to know people and you get to see their hearts, like,
oh my God,
it's amazing. Like, your work is incredible.
Full body goosebumps, feeling very emotional in the moment. Instantly. That's just so, it speaks so much to like, and again, you know what? We're wrapping up this with a bow in that. Look at that. Just look at that. There's so many other people, like, you probably even Googling like near me, like there's just so many options, but like a soul is a soul is a soul. And it's that person. It's like, it doesn't, you know, it's funny because I can get very wrapped up in like analysis paralysis and like wanting to do my due diligence and like research all of the options before I choose XYZ. But there's something about a person when you like connect with a person where the feeling of like having to investigate all of my options falls away. Yeah. Just falls away. Like when I was looking at, for my, we didn't end up getting married, but for my vow photos, we call them the vows because we got dressed up in my dress and his whatever, and we did it. So we flew out.
I have to know this story at some point because, like, I hear bits and pieces of whatever, and I'm like, there is not a full picture for me here. No, I love it. I love it.
13, 14 years and like, whatever. It's a piece of paper at this point. Anyway, we flew out. My dearest friend that I used to work with, he's a wedding photographer from California. And then what I was really having trouble with is videographer, because I didn't know a videographer. And so I didn't have the immediate connection. And I felt very like overwhelmed. I was like looking and I'm looking at it with like 14 different eyes, like of what I wanted. And I felt so stressed. And the second I found the one, I had zero impulse to like look further. It's just like that. I looked at 100.
The universe for signs of who it is that you want to interact with, whether it be a photographer, a videographer, or like what grocery store you want to go to. You can ask your inner voice, your soul, these questions, and you can go to the exact location without your mind interfering with the 10,000 reasons why you shouldn't or should do something else.
And it's also that, deep down that like, especially when it's something like this, like choosing someone, like you creating an event is like one of the most precious things that you could do and foster. Like, so anyone that you pull into that is so imperative, like what energy they bring. And I just actually did a post before we hopped on about how, I know as like photographers, at least like we could leave a session and be like, oh, I could have done X, I could have done Y, I could have done Z. I wish I would have thought to go up there and take the photo instead of there. But really, my number one comment before anything else is that we need to remember that the end product, like the photograph, is part of the equation. The most important is the experience, because even if you take the most gorgeous photos and the energy was not what it should, though, that energy is attached to the images. So when you look, not only did you impact the integrity of the experience, but then when the person's looking at the photos, they're thinking, oh, we were so hurried because there was a lot of pressure because the sun was going down and this and that. Like there's so much attached to like everything. So just being present with the experience and the energy that you want to have is everything else can just fall into place after that.
Yes, 1000%. And there's also like, when I was thinking about photographers before today, there was two that came to mind. I was like, I wonder like how I'm going to choose. Mm-hmm. I was like, you know what? It's like 9 months from now. I'm solid. Like I got some time. And then Amber said her comment of just the hotel room. And I got the intuitive ping, the intuitive nudge, my soul being like, Bianca. And I was like, You know what? She just went away for 2 weeks. She could totally do a weekend in New Hampshire.
Yeah, that was the last podcast episode. Hopefully I won't puke after yours. I was like, I'm going to get some alone time. I'm going to this, I'm going to that. I was spending it over
well,
a toilet.
you have the weekend that you're up in New Hampshire anyways for Amber's thing, so you can get adjusted at least.
Yes, training ground. Anyway, Amber, this has been a pleasure, as of course, and I will actually speak to you tomorrow because I'm going to be coming on your podcast. I'm sure this is not the last time, luckily. Let us know, where can we find more information about the temple? Anything that Amber says right now will be in the show notes.
So just go over to the spiritofyoutemple.com. From there, you can find my Instagram, you can find my podcast, you can find the soul activation call where you can get that for free. And then you can sign up for the temple if you're feeling called to the temple, or like just explore my site.
Thank you so much, Amber. I honestly, it's such a unique offering and so needed and gorgeous. So thank you for bringing that forward, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, my dear.
If you enjoyed this episode and want to get in on actual conversations with me, join the Help Me See podcast private Facebook group. Every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, I'll be hopping on live for Q&A on the latest episode and for free consulting if you need a bit of help thinking about ways to save your memories. Did you get something out of this episode? I really, really, really hope you did, and I would love to hear from you. I'm on a mission to empower you to feel peace knowing that you are not missing your life. One of the best ways that you can support me is leaving a review, and honestly, I'd rather hear about the memory you saved because of this podcast rather than any kind of accolade. Tell me how this podcast has impacted you, and 1, I'll probably cry. And 2, I'd love to give you a shout out on the show. Take a minute and head out to the link in the bio to write a review now on the podcast.